This meeting of the Essex County Board of Chosen Freeholders is hereby called to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Freeholder Cooper. Here. Freeholder Johnson, absent. Freeholder Luciano.
Here.
Freeholder Mercado.
Here.
Freeholder Pomares.
Here.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Here.
Freeholder Siebel. Here. Freeholder President Gill.
Here. Please stand for a salute to the flag. I'm going to ask Freeholder Cooper to lead us in the salute. Ask that we please remain standing for a moment of silence. Okay, thank you. I have before me certification from the clerk that this meeting is in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Madam Clerk, are there any transcripts to be approved?
Mr. President, there are none.
I think we do have
Oh, I'm
transcripts.
sorry, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Mr. President, there's a conference board meeting January 9th, 2019.
Okay, freeholders, do we have any questions or comments? Okay, freeholders, do I have a motion and a second to approve the transcripts?
Move it. Second.
Moved by Vice President Richardson, second by Freeholder Pomares. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Siebel. Here. Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson, absent. Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, Madam Clerk, are there any topics of discussion?
Mr. President, there are none.
Okay, let's move to public comment session on agenda items. Tonight's meeting is a combined conference board meeting, and we will vote on every item on the agenda. So if there's any member of the public who would like to comment on any agenda item, please come to the microphone, state your name and affiliation for the record. You will have 3 minutes to speak.
Hi, my name is Ashley Matias. I'm here from Chase and Lamparello, Malin and Capuzzo on behalf of OD Security North America, and this is in relation to resolution number 16. I will keep this brief. This has to do with the board's possible approval of a bid for two body security machines. So ultimately, in November of 18th, my client received a letter from the purchasing department informing them that their bid was accepted upon the board's approval of same. They were then informed shortly thereafter that their competitor by the name of Aldani Systems, Inc., that their bid was actually going to be accepted, despite the fact that it did not meet the qualifications of the initial bid. My client has already committed resources. In addition to that, they executed a memorandum of understanding with the Office of Purchasing, and they feel that this is a non-compliant bid. It's causing the bidding process to be characterized as not fair and biased, and that Aldani Systems is actually receiving preferential treatment. There is an OPA request that is pending for all communications between the county and Aldani, which has not been responded to. In addition to that, my client has just won a bid of exactly similar bid in Ocean County. Aldani Systems was actually denied for not being compliant on the same grounds that it was initially denied here. Although Aldani filed what's considered a protest letter, that letter was turned down in Ocean County, but for some reason, it was given credit here. It's protocol for Aldani to submit a protest letter every single time it loses a bid to my client. This is the very first time that a county has acted on that protest letter. As a result, we are urging you not to accept that bid. At the very least, we ask that you table it until further investigation, until the OPA request is responded to. And in the event that the bid is accepted, my client is going to proceed with litigation, as it noted in a demands letter that was served a few months ago.
Thank you.
Good evening. First of all, I'd like to say you need better signage for how to get to your meeting room. And it would be very nice if the front door of the Hall of Records were open. So anyway, I'm finally here. I did want to speak tonight. I have several issues I'd like to talk on, but the first is the first ordinance that you're going to hear on second reading, which is 2019-0001. Actually, my name is Terry Seuss, for the record. I live in Newark at 100 Alexander Street. And I noticed that you are preparing to pass on second reading $2.1 million for the acquisition of various capital equipment, which I'm sure will be needed and very well used in the county. However, I have a concern that the county has unjustly incarcerated people for civil offenses, and they're being held in the Essex County Jail. And I know that as a taxpayer from Essex County, that money is going to support our jail and our correction officers and our maybe other county projects, I'm not quite sure. However, I believe that those people are being held unjustly and that they are suffering. Therefore, I would like to request that you take a friendly amendment to this acquisition of capital equipment and make sure that each piece of equipment that that each piece of equipment that is received by the county should have a person's name in tribute that's been suffering in the Essex County Jail. And each piece of equipment should be labeled with a person's name who has been locked up by our county so that my taxes and other people's taxes are reduced, I suppose. Although when I looked at the budget, it seems like the amount of money we get is not totally necessary. So I would urge you all to search your consciences and to end that contract as soon as possible. But in the absence of that, please honor these people and mark each piece of equipment with their names and honor them. I appreciate your consideration of this suggestion, and I would look for a friendly amendment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, if there is any member of the public who would like to comment on any issue, please come to the microphone, state your name and affiliation for the record. Again, you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
My name's Link Bella Hughes. I live at 25 Vaughan Drive. I'm here because I want to, again, as a group of activists have constantly been doing since at least the summertime, we've been calling for the end of Essex County's contract with ICE. So if I could have your attention maybe just for about the next 2 minutes and 40 seconds without you looking at your cell phones, that'd be really respectful, meaning you'd recognize my humanity at the microphone here in a way that you're not currently recognizing the humanity of people who are imprisoned way down neck in the Essex County Correctional Facility. I came over the summer and asked a series of questions. There's 3 of them. I'm going to repeat them here because none of them were answered. Directly, I should say. Brendan Gill answered them indirectly, but I did not receive answers from any of the other freeholders who are sitting around this room right now who I requested answer those questions. So if the policy is that folks respond to questions, I need to hear responses from each individual in the room, not just from the president as a representative of, perhaps, the board here. So the first question that I asked in the summer was, what emotions do you experience in relation to governing over the mass immigrant detention system so that the county can accumulate revenue? The second question I asked was, how do those emotions relate to your sense of history and what that means for how you practice action each day? Third, I asked, starting in the past and coming to the present, wherever you want to start your sense of history, how does that relate to the ways that you are voluntarily feeling in the world in relation to folks who are currently imprisoned? The response I received, I'm going to read right now, and everybody can hear. Brendan and Gill didn't answer the questions directly. The answer was this. In recent months, the Essex County contract with ICE to house detainees suspected of entering the country illegally has been an issue for concerned citizens of the county. This is one of the most difficult issues that I have encountered on the board of chosen freeholders. All people are entitled to human rights, dignity, and equal protection under the law. However, ending the contract with ICE will not resolve the issues that some, including the current detainees and their families, are facing due to the federal directive. As the president of the board of chosen freeholders, I have always upheld my oath to protect the Constitution and allow lawful government to proceed without obstruction. The Essex County Administration's contract with ICE is lawfully in place. While I respect the concerns voiced, we have the right to disagree on the approach to resolving these issues. The question of approach is interesting because I haven't seen any approach explicitly mentioned from this board.
30 seconds.
The second part is that you mentioned nothing about emotion or your sense of history, particularly in relation to what you said as sort of like your loyalty to the country and to the Constitution. Slaveholders said that, segregationists said that, people who support mass incarceration said that. You all are saying that right now. The last part that I want to mention here is your loyalty to the nation or to your country or to your sense of what it means to be an American does not trump your loyalty to humanity. The people who are being held, a lot of whom aren't having their rights respected, need to be respected. That's what a humanizing practice would be. That's what respect looks like when it's in motion. It's visible and it can be felt by the people who would witness that. So I'm here to implore you, please respond, each of you, to the questions that I asked. Please show your loyalty to humanity as something that's way more important than any country around this world. And please be with us, the people who are trying to make freedom and equality in this world, and not with those who would benefit and have their privileges met by profiting off of the people who are detained way down neck. People's tax money, whatever that question is about lowering it, is not worth it. So please respond to my questions, and then we can continue this dialogue, and we'll continue to put pressure on you until you do the right thing.
You could squeeze the handle right up there and it'll, yes.
I have documents.
You can hand it to the gentleman behind you. You can start.
My name is Paul Alfano. I work for the county 32 years, Department of Public Works. I'm the shop steward for Local 68. The Essex County Administration has implemented a third-party computerized time and attendance system. I was able to ascertain that the time and attendance system was implemented in community action as early as 2016 and was implemented in Public Works in a test period and then fully implemented January 1st, 2019. Despite being implemented as early as 2016, many flaws still exist 4 years later. The time and attendance system should be abolished for the following reasons. Time and attendance system has no help desk. The website has no icon to click to give you a step-by-step instruction. 2, the website does not inform you of protocol. Case in point, it does not tell you how many days in advance you need to request a vacation or personal day. 3, time and attendance is not reliable. On 4 occasions in early January 2019, the green light on the hand clock illuminated, indicating I punched in and out successfully, yet the system indicates I never punched in or out. If this is not corrected, it is falsifying government records. 4, according to Supervisor Personnel, Miss Tata Wu Holiday, who works for the Division of Training, her memo says employees will be docked and employees will not be reimbursed for the docking because you had ample time to take care of your time. This also would be falsifying government records. You can see the attached memo. 5, my personal information was hacked as well as other county employees. As a result, Essex County had to provide LifeLock to attempt to correct the damage the time and attendance contractor did. The lack of transparency regarding how this third-party contractor uses and stores employees' private information has the potential to expose employees to serious and irreversible privacy risks. If the county fails as the custodian of the records, they may walk backwards into lawsuits. I also have open request. Who is the company that is doing it, that running this? And how much are they getting paid? My open records was not answered. I also came to the January 9th Freeholder meeting and asked that question. Who is the company that's doing the time and attendance? I did not get a response. That's close to a month ago. And I'm asking again, who is the company that is running the time and attendance? And how much are they being paid? Thank you for your time.
So, Madam Clerk, can we just make sure that we please follow up with Mr. Alfano's question, if it was put on the record at the January 9th meeting? It's definitely been put on the record here today for a response.
Mr. President, I'll make sure he receives a response.
Mr. President, those questions were responded to.
Madam Clerk?
My information officer said it was responded to.
For the record, we did respond to it. You didn't have a city on your address when you filled it.
Name for the...
Chala Malumba, Public Information Officer, Essex County Board of Freeholders. We responded to it. You didn't have your town on the address. You just had a street address. We couldn't track down your town, but we did send you an email, and I could provide a copy of that. We did send an email to you, and other people were copied.
Okay, thank you. Please.
Good evening. My name is
Good evening.
Gwendolyn Franklin. I work for Essex County. And again, as January 9th, I asked a question about the time and attendance. If it's possible to have an outside audit and an outside investigation. My response, again, I guess a lot of people just don't know. I don't know whether the bylaws is only the president respond to your questions, or do every sitting freeholder respond to the questions also? Is it possible? And my answer was the time and attendance system will be part of the county annual audit process. When does the audit process take place? I guess that answers that it's not going to be an outside audit, and it's not going to be an outside investigation. Is it ever going to be an outside audit, or is it ever going to be an outside investigation? Those are my questions. The other thing I've came to discuss is 50 South Clinton is where I work. They just recently started renovations. They've been pulling up the carpet, old carpet that's been there over 100 years, I don't know, and placing down new tiles. In the process of that, they're doing it while employees are at work, which is making so many employees ill. Friday, I had to sit up and take someone's place at the desk. Even though I could not smell the odor, within 2 hours in sitting at that desk, I was so ill that my eyes were burning, my head was pounding, that I had to take a half a day. I took a half a day, went home, I went to the doctors, and thank God I went directly to the doctors because he said my throat was closing up. He said I was having an asthma attack. So if I would have went home, I don't know what would have happened. I would have died. But the thing is that all these chemicals is no open ventilation. There's not one window that you can open at 50 South Clinton. So while they're doing this work, you can do fans, all the chemicals are just going around and going around. And we have little babies that come in to get, with their parents. That's a real big concern because their little lungs are not even developed. let alone us. I had an outright asthma attack, but I'm not the only one that had
30
one.
seconds.
But a lot of people, employees especially, are afraid to comment because fear of retaliation, which is now happening to me, unfortunately. But fear of retaliation, but I'm asking you as freeholders, can you do something about the work that's being done? Can it be done at least after work? And can we get a window open so all the chemicals can go outside? Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Holly Gauthier. I'm co-chair of the Voting Rights Committee of Soma Action in South Orange, Maplewood. I'm here this evening to speak about the plans that the freeholders have for purchasing new voting machines for Essex County. And as I got to thinking about it, I thought, well, you know, really in some ways, conceptually, voting is kind of easy to think about. You have a ballot, a voter marks it, and then it gets counted. What's so hard? Well, it is, we've discovered. And there's lots of room for opportunities for messing up. On the one hand, you can have a machine that does all those three things in one go. And there's a variety of machines that do that, and currently we have one where there's no paper ballot, but there's now a law requiring a paper ballot, and so I know that the freeholders are wisely, and I congratulate you for this, moving toward having a paper ballot. However, I would also encourage the freeholders to look seriously at a system that requires the voter, well, you have the ballot, it's on paper, the voter marks it, and it's put into an optical scanner, which can count the ballot. Not so hard. If something happens, if there's a mix-up, as sometimes there was in New York, what we heard about with all the water and so forth, well, that's pretty simple too, because you've got your paper ballot, you put it into a box, and it's considered an emergency ballot, and it's counted later. It can be easily recounted if that's needed. It is also, and my colleague will speak to this more, it is less expensive by a significant amount. These machines that are voter marked, paper ballot, are reliable, secure, and cost effective. I encourage the freeholders and the administration to look seriously at these machines, at this system. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is David Harris. I'm the co-chair of the Voters' Rights Committee of Soma Action. Soma Action, I think, as you know, is 2,000 strong, located in South Orange and Maplewood, and we're affiliated with a number of other groups in other towns. I wanted to speak specifically about the hand-marked paper ballots that are then inserted into an optical scanner. The reason, and you were kind enough for the president, the vice president, and other members of the Board of Freeholders to hear a presentation by, not so much by us, but by our expert, Dr. Andrew Appel, explaining in great detail the importance and the security of the hand-marked paper ballots. And the shortcomings of the ballot marking machines, because the ballot marking machines, even when they print a paper ballot, the research indicates that half the voters don't even look at the paper ballot that is printed, and the other half only look at it for 4 seconds. So if you really want to implement a law that requires voter-verified paper ballots, you need to have the voters mark the ballot on paper and to be inserted into an optical scanner, and a precinct-based optical scanner, not a centrally based optical scanner. The reason my colleague had mentioned that they're cheaper, the reason that they're cheaper is this. You only need one optical scanner per polling place. Essex County has 550 districts. In the 2016 election, they had 308 polling places. So many districts are combined into a single polling place. Some have 3 districts in a single polling place. You can have voters vote in privacy screens on the paper ballots, and then they walk over and insert their ballots into an optical scanner. In the event the optical scanner malfunctions, they can use the same ballots, so you don't have a risk of running out of paper ballots like they did in Montclair in the last election. Also, it allows you to
30
verify, to certify the election results quickly. So unlike the last local election that we had, the local election results could not be certified for 2 weeks. And in South Orange Maplewood, we had a very close election for the school board, and people were on the edges of their seats. This is more efficient, more effective, safer, and less expensive. Thank you.
Thank you.
And if you squeeze right underneath the microphone, the handle, the mic, you can adjust it.
Oh, okay. That's okay. Oh, that's better. Yeah, hi. My name's Terry Seuss back again. It's nice to talk with you a few minutes because I know that this issue is very close to my heart in terms of what's happening to immigrants across the country. Because I know I'm from a family of immigrants, and it was a difficult story. And I know that this country depends on immigrants. We've been built on immigrants. And I'm Social Security age right now. And Social Security is paid for the next generation. We paid for our parents, children are paying for us. And we have had a low birth rate. So we do need all the young people we can get. Nobody's talking about that. And a lot of young energy that's coming here from these young people is needed to fill jobs and to also pay into Social Security. So we need a path to legal immigration. But meanwhile, from what I was able to research, we find that 27 million is coming from Immigration and Custom Enforcement to Essex County. That was reported by a person, R.G. Lahoud. I don't know exactly who he is, and I haven't been able to document where in the budget this income is coming from, but I'd like to see that in the budget. What I did find out is that the entire Corrections Services gets 97 million, so this is a portion of that. About a third of that is coming from ICE. Our total budget is 732 million. I'm sure you're all well aware of these figures. The public generally is not. 732 million sounds like a big number, and it is. And it's important to look at that 27 million in relation to that. It's not a very big number, and it can be replaced by other monies. We also have a surplus of 103 million. So if our surplus were not so large, we would not have to take the ICE money. So I urge you to think about these things and to really challenge that contract and get Essex County out of the business of human suffering, because that's what we're in right now. And everybody may be going to enjoy the county facilities, but those facilities are being built on the basis of misery.
Seconds.
And I, for one, don't feel very good about that. And I think there are a lot of people here who don't feel good about that. And you have it in your hands to remove that contract as soon as possible. I'd like to have a timetable for doing that, and I look forward to hearing from you on this in future discussions. And I hope that you take this seriously, because there are other monies for this. We don't need human suffering money. So thank you for your attention to my comments.
Thank you. Okay, Madam Clerk, let the record reflect that there is no one wishing to... Oh, I'm sorry. Oh.
My name is All Right Cowboy. I'm Newark resident, and I just wanted to speak on some of the things that I've been doing and trying to get people to understand what I could do could help a lot of the children, and a lot of people has been asking me when they're going to get started doing these things that I've been trying to do. And I've been working on programs for getting the kids involved into the horses. I'm trying to get into the school programs to bring about what the kids are, to bring out who they are and what they're about. Now, I know that there's a lot of things that people look at horses, they were the beginning of the building of the country, and there's a lot that they can do, and a lot that they're looked over. I'm just working around the police department at the horses and seeing how they're taken care of, and they're taken care of very well, being fed, but they don't know the dealings with the horses and how they can be better taken care of and get more use out of the horses. And they have a beautiful stable over there that's not being used properly for the horses, or the kids could get more use out of knowing how the police are taking care of the horses, and the use of the horses would make better citizens for these kids. They're asking, is there any way that I can bring horses around and help to make things better? And everybody is agreeing with me, but I don't have any help in getting the horses around in the parks and the reservation. There's plenty of room for the horses, and it could be better utilized if they knew how to work with that to help the kids be better citizens. And I know that I can do that if there can be brought about the training. I've been delivering carrots to the horses, which the police has been appreciated. And I said, instead of having them run loose in the city, all you have to do is feed them a carrot around, and they won't run away from you, they will come to you. But there's a lot of things that I've been wanting to do and help bring
30 seconds.
Bring things about in the city. And I know if I have that, able to do that around to show what abilities that I have, since I'm a horse whisperer, I know what a horse will do before he do it. And I can be a big help to the city and also the county if I could bring horses around in the reservations and help with the police. They could do more around the city with the horses. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Richie Shavat. I'm from Montclair. I came here also to lend my voice in opposition to the ICE contract that Essex County has. Really, it doesn't matter how much money it's bringing in. It doesn't matter what the budget is. It only matters if it's right or wrong. That's the only thing we should consider. No one here wants to make money off of something that's immoral or wrong. It could cause a problem for the budget. That's something that you elected officials will have to work out. This is a system that is broken, is ripping people out of their homes. They're not getting due process. My understanding is most of them don't pose a threat to public safety, and this issue is not going to go away. We are going to, when I say we, I mean activists in Essex County are going to oppose this contract. We're going to demand that you find some alternative to it. It's part of a nationwide movement to stop these just immoral attacks on what are basically decent people who've come here to earn a living, to mow our lawns, clean our hotels, work the jobs. They're law-abiding, most of them. And we, the people of Essex County, and the Democrats of Essex County, should not be participating in this. So that's all I want to say, and I just want to say again, this issue is not going to go away. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Madam Clerk, let the record reflect that there is no one wishing to speak at this time. Again, for those who put questions on the record, it will be the board's policy to respond in writing for point of clarification. Two, certain questions are forwarded to the administration for response, if that's the appropriate place for the response. Questions that are posed to the board, as noted, is correct. The president does not speak for all of the board members, and it is up to the individual board members if they would like to respond to questions that are put on the record. Madam Clerk, do we have any ordinances or resolutions for introductions and first reading?
Mr. President, we have none.
Okay, thank you. Madam Clerk, do we have any ordinances or resolutions for listing purposes only?
Mr. President, we have none.
Okay, Madam Clerk, do we have any ordinances or resolutions on second reading and public hearing tonight?
Mr. President, we have two. The first ordinance is ordinance number O-2019-0001, an ordinance appropriating $2,100,000 by the County of Essex for the acquisition of various capital equipment.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Clerk. I hereby declare the public hearing on ordinance O-2019-0001 open. If there's any member of the public who would like to comment for or against this ordinance, please come to the microphone and state your name and affiliation for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. Okay, Mr. Parlavecchio, do you have any questions or comments?
Mr. President, this was discussed thoroughly at a prior meeting. I have nothing to add this time.
Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me, Mr. Parlavecchio, we do have someone who has come to the microphone to speak.
Yeah, I'd just like to reiterate that this...
Can you just put your name
Your
on the
name
record,
and-
Oh,
please?
Terry Seuss. Reiterate that this ordinance allocating millions of dollars for equipment should recognize that people are suffering in our county, and these people should be honored. And if you are going to spend that money on capital equipment, you should ask them if they'd like to be honored by having their name on some of the equipment, and then they should be released from the county prison. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Parlavecchio, do you have any questions or comments?
Nothing to add.
Mr. McInerney, do you have any questions or comments?
No, Mr. President.
Freeholders, do you have any questions or comments? Okay, as noted, this was thoroughly discussed at our last meeting. Freeholders, do I have a motion and a second to close the public hearing on ordinance O-2019-00001?
I'll move, Mr. President.
Second.
Moved by Freeholder Palmaris, second by Freeholder Marcato. Do I have the same mover and second to approve the ordinance?
Yes.
Thank you. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper. Yes. Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Palmares.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Let's please read ordinance number O-2019-00002.
Ordinance number O-2019-0002, ordinance providing for various capital improvements by the County of Essex, New Jersey, appropriating $14,900,000 therefor, and authorizing the issuance of $14,185,000 bonds or notes of the county for financing such appropriation.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I hereby declare the public hearing on ordinance O-2019-00002 open. If there's any member of the public who would like to comment for or against this ordinance, please come to the microphone, state your name and affiliation for the record. You will have 3 minutes to speak. Okay, Mr. Parlavecchio, do you have any questions or comments?
No questions.
Mr. McInerney.
No questions.
Freeholders, do you have any questions or comments? Again, this was discussed both in our leadership meeting and at our last meeting. Freeholders, do I have a motion a motion and a second to close the public hearing on ordinance O 2019-00002.
Move it.
Moved by Freeholder Johnson, second by Vice President Richardson. Do I have the same mover and second to approve?
Yes.
Thank you. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Sebel.
Yes.
Freeholder by Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Let's move to resolution number 1, which is an advice and consent nomination for the appointment of John McGuire to the Essex County Veterans Advisory Board. Could we please read it?
Resolution 1, advise and consent, nomination for the appointment of John P. McGuire to the Essex County Veterans Advisory Board.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. Mr. Jackson.
Good evening, Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, members of the board. The county executive is honored to nominate Mr. McGuire to the Veterans Advisory Board, and he's here to address you this evening.
Thank you. Mr. McGuire.
Good evening.
Good evening.
John McGuire from Nutley.
You can pull the mic up by squeeze, yes.
Thank you. I'm currently the president of the Nutley Veterans Council, which basically we run all the veterans events in town. I reached out to the county executive as I'd like to get more involved with veterans in the county, and if there's anything that I can do. If anyone has any questions or...
Thank you. Freeholders, do you have any questions or comments for Mr. McGuire? Freeholder Luciano.
Thanks, Freeholder President. I just want to put on the record that for quite some time now, I've known John McGuire. He's a stand-up guy, Afghan veteran, Iraq veteran, and I think that it was a great choice by the administration to nominate him, so I'll be happy to sponsor this.
Thank you, Freeholder Luciano. Freeholders, additional questions or comments? I'll just echo my Freeholder colleagues' comments. Know Mr. McGuire and his family and their dedication to service, both in the community of Nutley and our community here at large in Essex County. Thank you for your service to our country and for your ability to volunteer some time to serve on our Veterans Advisory Committee. It's one of our most important committees, as well as one of our most active. So thank you for agreeing to serve. Freeholders, do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Moved by Freeholder Luciano. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Freeholder Mercado. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Sebel.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good
Thank you for
luck.
the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. We're going to move to resolutions number 2 through 14, also number 43. So we're going to read resolutions 2 through 14 and number 43 into the record at a later time. They are all with the Office of County Council. So I will ask through you, Mr. Jackson, that we start working through them one at a time.
Yes, Mr. President, as you mentioned, County Council Gassion is here to address each of these items.
Thank you.
And is it actually through 15?
Is it
we
15
pulled
as well?
17.
I have 2 through
Res-
14.
Resolution 17 was withdrawn by the administration.
Okay, so 2 through 14 and 43, correct?
That's what we have.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. President. Courtney Gassion, Essex County Council. Resolution number 2 is a professional services agreement to provide legal services regarding a litigation that's been filed by the County of Essex against the manufacturers of opioid products. It is a contract with the firm of Corella Byrne, Cecchi, Olstein, Brody, and Agnello. It is a contingency contract. It is for the period of January 1, 2019 through December 31st, 2019. This litigation was filed as part of a class action lawsuit. The County of Essex has joined together with many other public entities throughout the nation in filing suit against opioid manufacturers, and the Corella firm is representing us in this litigation. As I noted, it is a contingency-only contract. The firm is fronting all litigation expenses. There will be no legal fees associated with this contract unless there's any type of recovery, either through judgment or settlement of the matter.
Thank you. Mr. Parlavecchio.
No, I don't think there's anything to add to that.
Mr. McInerney.
I have no questions.
Freeholders, do I have any questions or comments? Just a quick comment. This is obviously a crisis in our country and in our state and in our county, and very interested to see what we're able to do, through this potential suit. So, very interested to keep updated on where we are as this makes its way through, and if we could ask through the administration that we're updated on a regular basis, particularly on this issue.
Absolutely,
So-
Mr. President.
Feel there's additional questions or comments? Do I have a mover and a second?
Move it.
Moved by Vice President Richardson,
Second, Mr.
second by Freeholder Palmaris. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Sebo.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Palmaris.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson. Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you. Resolution number 3.
Thank you, Mr. President. Resolution number 3 is another professional services agreement to provide legal services on behalf of Essex County in connection with real estate development. It is a contract with outside counsel firm of Chiesa, Shaheenan, and John Tomasi in the amount not to exceed $60,000. The term of the contract is January 31, 2019 through December 31st, 2019. This is actually associated with Resolution number 43, which is the county's purchase of 320 and 321 University Avenue in Newark. They are handling the real estate closing on behalf of the county.
Thank you, Mr. Parlavecchio.
No questions.
Mr. McInerney.
No questions.
Freeholders. Do I have a mover and a second? Moved by Freeholder Sebold,
Second?
second by Freeholder Cooper. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Palmaris.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Sebo.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Present, not voting. Number 4.
Thank you, Mr. President. Resolution number 4 is, again, a professional services agreement to provide legal services on behalf of Essex County. This is another real estate closing also being handled by the outside counsel firm of Chiesa, Shaheenan, and John Tomasi in an amount not to exceed $10,000 for the contract period of January 1, 2019 through December 31st, 2019. This is a closing that's in relation to a small parcel of property located in Livingston that we are conveying to Kushner Academy. There was a request by the Academy for additional space necessary for access for construction that was going on the property, as well as additional parking that was necessary for the school. The county had retained a right-of-way in connection with this parcel, and it has conveyed the additional property to Kushner Academy for their use. This is the contract for the closing on that conveyance.
Thank you. Mr. Parlavecchio.
Yeah, I think from other conversations I've had with Ms. Gassion, this is also an undeveloped piece of property that has no public use or anticipated public use, so there's should be no objection to selling it.
Thank you. Mr. McInerney.
The sale of the property is $5,000, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Freeholders, questions or comments? This is Kushner Academy for the record.
That's correct.
Freeholders, do I have a motion and a second?
I'll move it.
Moved by Freeholder Sebold,
Second?
second by Freeholder Mercado. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Sebo.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Palmaris.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Present, not voting. Number 5.
Mr. President, resolution number 5 is a professional services agreement to provide outside counsel services on behalf of various contract issues, including actual and/or threatened litigation in connection with our Department of Public Works. This is with the law firm of Connell Foley, located in Roseland. It's for the contract period of January 1, 2019 through December 31st, 2019, an amount not to exceed $75,000. Connell Foley provides consultation as well as litigation representation on behalf of our Public Works Department on public works projects such as construction and development of county properties. They've been doing this work for us for a number of years, and we've been very satisfied with the services that they provide to the county and the Department of Public Works.
Thank you. Mr. Parlavecchio?
No questions.
Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Freeholder? Questions or comments? Do I have a mover?
I'll move, Mr. President.
Moved by Freeholder Palmaris,
Second.
second by Freeholder Mercado. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Palmaris.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Sebo.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Moving to number 6.
Mr. President, number 6 is a resolution seeking approval for a professional services agreement to provide legal services of the firm of Dakotas, Fitzpatrick, Cole, and Giblin for January 1, 2019 through December 31st, 2019. This is a contingency contract, and it is in connection with a litigation that the county has filed against Aetna Insurance Company. And this is seeking, on behalf of the county, reimbursement for overcharged premium amounts that the county contends is owed to it by Aetna Insurance. This is, as I noted, a contingency contract. Once the matter proceeds to litigation, and the firm right now is on an hourly basis, it will become contingency if the matter proceeds to trial.
Thank you. Mr. Parlavecchio?
No questions.
Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Freeholders? Through the administration, whether, this question is either for the administration or for Mr. Parlavecchio, raises question in leadership as to whether or not asking or having the broker or be a part of this suit would enhance the chance of county success. Well, let me ask the first question. Who's the broker through you, Mr. Jackson?
The broker is Connor Strong.
And through you, Mr. Jackson, why is the broker not a part of this suit?
Mr. President, I'll also ask Ms. Gassion to elaborate, but there were strategic legal reasons why we did that, and we actually presented a document to the board through Mr. Parlavecchio. I'll let Ms. Gassion elaborate on that.
I didn't get a document. Well, we did have a discussion. I didn't see a document, but there were certainly strategic legal reasons, which I'll let county council to put on the record. If we need to go into further discussion, we should do it in closed session.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. President, generally the reasons that were determined to not add Connor Strong to this lawsuit, without getting into the particulars of the litigation or the legal strategy that was utilized in making those decisions, there was a determination made by both the county and their outside counsel that it would not be advantageous to the counties pursuing of this litigation to add Connor Strong. First, and probably most significantly, we did not feel that we'd be able to substantiate any type of professional malpractice claim against Connor Strong based on the facts that were before us at the time that the litigation was filed. There's also a privilege that exists between a public entity and their broker that would have been waived if we were to add them as a defendant in this case. And finally, our position is that because of the historical knowledge that Connor Strong possessed with regard to the negotiations that led up to the contract in question, that it was certainly information and documents that would be advantageous to the county to have at its disposal through Connor Strong in pursuing the claim against Aetna. So if we were to add them as a defendant and put them in a defense position, we would lose that ability to ask for their aid and their assistance in the claim, which could be contrary to being successful in the lawsuit.
Thank you. Mr. Palavecchio, would the document that was just referenced, was there a document submitted, or will there be a document submitted to the board?
Mr. President, if I may, excuse me, Mr. I misspoke. My apologies, Mr. Palavecchio, in that regard. I misunderstood that what on my mistake. A document was not forwarded to Mr. Palavecchio.
Okay.
But we did have a discussion, so I was aware of what was just placed on the record.
Okay. But so is the intention still to submit that to the board?
Through you, Mr. President, I can certainly submit something in writing to Mr. Palavecchio outlining in more detail
I'll submit
the reasons that I've just articulated.
Thank you. Freeholders, do we have any questions? Comments?
Mr. President.
Freeholder Johnson?
Through you, Mr. President, I think that we should hold on voting on this here until we get that information, because I'm a little lost on the information myself.
Make a motion?
Motion to,
I'm not making a motion, I'm asking if we want,
if you wanted to adjourn it, you would have to have a motion to adjourn it to the next meeting.
Okay.
Next meeting is
February 20th. Okay. Freeholder Johnson has a motion to adjourn this to our 20th.
Yes, Mr. President.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Vice President Richardson. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Ricardo.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Sebo.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Thanks.
Yes.
So moved. So adjourned to February 20th.
Number 7.
Resolution number 7 is a professional services agreement to provide legal representation in labor matters on behalf of Essex County. This contract is with the firm of Genova Burns, January 1, 2019 through December 31st, 2019, in an amount not to exceed $200,000. Genova Burns has been our outside labor counsel for several years now. They provide assistance in connection with labor negotiations, grievance arbitrations, as well as matters filed at PERC and other employment-related cases.
Mr. Palavecchio?
No questions.
Mr. McInerney?
No question.
Freeholders? Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Moved by Freeholder Sebo,
Second.
second by Vice President Richardson. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Sebo.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson. Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Ricardo.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Cooper. Yes. Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to number 8.
Resolution number 8 is a professional services agreement to provide legal services on behalf of the County of Essex, representing the county at commitment hearings at the Essex County Hospital Center. This is a contract with the firm of Inglesino, Webster, Weisskala, and Taylor, in an amount not to exceed $17,000. And this is, again, for the period of January 1, 2019 through December 31st, 2019. Essex County represents the citizens of Essex County in involuntary commitment hearings at mental health facilities throughout the state of New Jersey, and this firm has been retained to assist us in representation at those hearings.
Thank you. Mr. Parlavecchio?
Right, and this firm has been, or predecessor firm has been doing this work for a number of years.
That's correct.
Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Freeholders? Do I have a mover?
I'll move it.
Moved by Freeholder Seabold.
Second.
Second by Freeholder Mercado. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Sebo.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to number 9.
Resolution number 9, professional services agreement to provide legal services regarding the litigation matter of Gibson and Hassan versus Essex County College et al. This contract is with the firm of McElroy, Deutsch, Mulvaney, and Carpenter, January 1, 2019 through December 31st, 2019, in an amount not to exceed $105,000. This was litigation that was filed by 2 former employees of Essex County College against the college as well as the county executive. And the firm, the McElroy Deutsch firm, is representing the county executive in this litigation.
Thank you, Mr. McInerney.
What was the
I'm sorry.
contract from the prior year?
The contract for 2018 was $105,000, and we extended in 18 a total of $400,000.
Thank you.
Mr. Parlavecchio?
Yeah, and this is just for representing the claim, I don't know if there's more than one claim left, against the county executive, not against the college, correct?
Through you, Mr. President, that's correct. This firm is not representing the college. They have their own counsel. This is only representing the county executive. There are 3 counts that remain in the lawsuit.
Freeholders? Freeholder Cooper?
Considering that I'm new here, I'm sure you guys have gotten an overview of this case. It's been going on for quite some time. So, Mr. President, can I have just a summary of whatever you guys received last year on
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you. Mr. President, I will ask the administration to supply us with a summary for Freeholder Cooper, if you so desire.
Sure. Yes.
Yeah, and I can sit down, I've sat down, well, briefly sat down with Freeholder Cooper on another lawsuit. I'm happy to go over any of these cases with her.
Thank you. Freeholders, additional questions or comments? We'll move her in a second.
I'll move it.
Moved by Freeholder Seabold, second by Freeholder Johnson. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Sebo.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you. Moving to number 10.
Resolution number 10 is a professional services agreement with the law firm of Pyrazina, Cefelli, Paris, and John Tempto for January 1, 2019 to December 31st, 2019. This is in connection with collection of unpaid fines and penalties for various environmental violations that are imposed by the county health and its authorized subcontractor agencies. This is a contingency contract. The firm only gets paid for any amounts that are collected as a result of these penalties and fines. They are paid 1/4 of any fine collected in pre-litigation matters and 1/3 of any fines or penalties collected if the matter proceeds to litigation. And last year, we collected approximately $110,000 through the use of this firm.
Mr. Parlavecchio.
No questions.
Mr. McInerney.
No questions.
Thank you. Freeholders. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Moved by Freeholder Cooper,
Second, Mr. President.
second by Freeholder Pomeroy. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Sebo.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomeroy.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson, absent. Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you. Moving to number 11.
Resolution number 11 is a professional services agreement to provide services on behalf of the County of Essex in the matter of the estate of Anthony Stella versus the Township of Nutley et al. County of Essex was named in this litigation. It is a personal injury action. This is an outside counsel contract for the period of January 1, 2019 through December 31st, 2019 with the firm of Skrinsky and Hollenbach in an amount not to exceed $25,000.
Mr. Parlecchio?
Just a question. This is a 2017 docket number. Is it anticipated this case will resolve in 2019?
It is anticipated that the case will settle this year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. McInerney?
No questions?
Freeholders? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Freeholder Mercado,
Second.
Freeholder Cooper. Is there a second? Yes, thank you. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson, absent. Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomeroy.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Sebo.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you. Moving to number 12.
Thank you, Mr. President. Both resolutions 12 and 13 are in connection with the same litigation. These are professional services agreements with the law firm representing the County of Essex as well as the Essex County Register Dana Roan by the firm of Skrinsky Hollenbach for the period of January 1st, 2019 through December 31st, 2019. The amount of those contracts are not to exceed $50,000 for each of those two contracts. This is a litigation that was filed in connection with an employment action against the County of Essex as well as the Register. It was determined, the first contract representing Dana Roan is with Skrinsky and Hollenbach. The second contract representing the County of Essex is with the firm of Walsh, Pizzey, O'Reilly, and Falanga. And as I noted, both are in the amount of not to exceed $50,000.
Thank you. So we'll take 12 and 13 together. So, Mr. Parlecchio.
Yeah. Ms. Gassion, on these types of cases where an individual is named as well as the county globally, sometimes your office holds on to the case and represents them, and then there's conflict counsel. Was it determined that there was an internal conflict, and so
Yes.
the case went out?
Through you, Mr. President, there was an internal conflict with my office in this case. I actually became involved in this case very early on, pre-litigation, and I would potentially become a witness in the matter. So in order to avoid any future conflicts, the representation of both the individual defendant, Register Rowan, as well as the county was let out to outside counsel.
Thank you.
Mr. McInerney?
I have no questions, Mr. President.
Thank you. Freeholders? Do I have a motion for Resolution 12 and 13? Moved by Freeholder Cooper.
Second, Mr. President.
Second by Freeholder Pomeroy. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson, absent. Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomeroy.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Sebo.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, moving to number 14.
Resolution number 14 is a professional services agreement to provide professional engineering and expert witness services to a Vincent Campisi. He is an engineer who has provided us thus far with an engineering report in connection with a litigation involving a personal injury that took place on one of our bridges. Mr. Campisi is an expert in the area of structural engineering, including bridges. He's already prepared his expert report. This resolution is in the amount not to exceed $38,000 for the payment of his report that's already been provided to the county in support of the defense of the litigation.
Mr. Parlavecchio?
No question.
Freeholders? That's not Ms. McInerney.
No questions.
Freeholders? Do I have a mover?
Move it.
Moved by Vice President Richardson,
Second.
second by Freeholder Mercado. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you. Okay.
Oh, I did. And Freeholder Johnson is absent regarding Resolution 14.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to resolution number 43.
Resolution 43.
We'll read into the, we already said we'll read into a record at a later time.
Thank you, Mr. President. Resolution number 43, and thank you for the courtesy of moving this resolution up. This is a request that the board approve a purchase-sale agreement for the purchase of 320 and 321 University Avenue by the County of Essex. This is the real estate transaction I mentioned earlier in connection with the approval of the contract with the John Tomasi firm. The county is in the process of purchasing these two buildings in the amount of $26,015,000. We are anticipating a closing on or before March 13th. These two buildings will be occupied by our DFAB offices that are currently located at 18 Rector Street. We anticipate moving those offices sometime in the middle of next year. So these are two relatively new buildings that are in great shape. They have wonderful facilities associated with them, ample parking, and the county is very excited about moving our DFAB staff into this new facility.
Thank you. Mr. Parlavecchio?
So a couple of questions, just to orient us geographically. This is the building that is east on Market Street, out the front of the historic courthouse.
Through you, Mr. President, that's correct. So it sits almost directly in front of the historic courthouse. It's the old Bank of America building, if that helps anybody orient themselves.
Thank you.
It's two buildings that are actually connected by a walkway that goes over the roadway.
It's two buildings.
Freeholders? Freeholder Cooper?
Thank you, Mr. President. What was the appraisal prices of the two buildings, do we know?
Through you, Mr. President, the appraisal that we received was $35 million.
Mr. McInerney?
Mr. President, this is part of an overall plan that was presented to the Board of Freeholders by the administration, dealing with various parking facilities and other office facilities to be located here at the Hall of Records campus. We were through this. Again, it's part of a larger plan. We approved in November of 2018 on the second reading the amount of $30 million to fund this acquisition, of which $3 million has already been expended, and there's $27 million obviously left in order to fund the $26,015,000 that's on this purchase agreement that we're considering now.
Thank you.
One other point, if I can.
Sure.
And I think, and what made me think of it when Mr. McInerney mentioned prior meetings on this, something to be factored into the price on this, I understand, is that it will take certain departments that are now in rental properties, out of rental properties and into this property, so eventually eliminating rental expense to the county. Eventually.
Through you, Mr. President, when our lease at 18 Rector expires in 2026, it will be a significant cost savings to the county on a yearly basis in rental costs.
That's great. That's great. Freeholders, additional questions or comments? Through you, Mr. Jackson, Ms. Gassion, is there a firm that you mentioned that is running point on this deal for the county?
Yes, that was our earlier resolution
Oh,
with the...
this is attached to...
That's correct.
Okay,
That's correct.
gotcha. Additional questions or comments?
I'll move it.
Thank you, Freeholder Siebel. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Freeholder Mercado. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Sebo. Yes. Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
President not voting.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Ms. Gassion. Thank you.
I'm sticking around for one more.
Oh, are you?
Resolution 15 is actually mine as well.
Oh, okay.
Although it
Not-
says the Department of
Oh, it says
Corrections.
Department of Corrections?
Yeah. Mr. President, Resolution Number 15 is through the Department of Corrections as a professional services agreement to provide special outside counsel on behalf of domestic violence custody hearings. This contract is with Maritza Rodriguez Esquire. She's a solo practitioner here in Newark for the contract year of January 1, 2019 through December 31st, 2019 in an amount not to exceed $17,000. Ms. Rodriguez provides these services to the county on a weekly basis. There was a opinion that was provided by our assignment judge that there was a conflict that existed for the county counsel's office to handle these domestic violence hearings in-house, given that we represent the prosecutor's office in various litigation matters, and the prosecutor's office is adverse to the defendants in these cases. Therefore, we've sent it to outside counsel, and Ms. Rodriguez will be the second contract year that she's handling these matters on behalf of the county.
Thank you, Mr. Parlavecchio.
No questions.
Mr. McInerney.
No questions.
Freeholders. Additional questions or comments, freeholders? Before we vote on this, Ms. Gassion, for the record and for those who are watching some must-see TV at home, can you just comment generally? We had quite a few resolutions in a row about outside counsel and outside counsel work, but I think it would be great to put on the record the great work your office is doing in limiting the amount of actually work that we're sending outside of the county.
Sure. Thank you for the opportunity to do so. Mr. President, as we've gone through tonight, we have approximately 14 or 15 outside counsel cases right now that are with the county. For a county this size, probably one of, if not the busiest counties in the state of New Jersey, I consider this to be a significant accomplishment on behalf of my office. We are a office of only 12 attorneys, and we handle, as the board is aware, a myriad of matters on behalf of the County of Essex. There are, of course, matters that do come up. Either there's a conflict that exists, there's a specialty that's required, or other litigation-related issues that arise that do require us to go to outside counsel. But both my predecessor, the former county counsel, Jim Paganelli, and myself have done our best to bring as many cases and keep as many cases in-house to reduce costs and expenses to the county. So this number of outside counsel cases, I think, is significant for a county this size. And I can just add to that last year, our total expenditures to outside counsel through, I don't have the final December bills yet, but through the end of November of last year, were less than $375,000.
Very good. It's just that's that number is quite impressive, and just want to compliments to you and your staff for the work that they're doing. Again, for a county this size to keep that number at where it's at and where it was many years ago in terms of how many cases that this county was sending to outside counsel. That's very, very impressive. Freeholders, do I have a motion or additional comments or questions?
Move it.
Got moved by Freeholder Cooper, second by Vice President Richardson. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Sebo.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you. We will also, for the record, Madam Clerk, we will read Resolution Number 15 in the record at a later time. We will now move to Resolution 16, which we can read into the record at a later time. Mr. Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Boyd and the vendor are here to address this item.
Thank you.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, you're doing resolution 16 at the moment?
We are. Yeah, public comment on all agenda items is over. So you can speak at the end of the meeting. There'll be another opportunity for public, but there's no public comment during each individual item. We already had public comment on agenda items. Okay.
David Boyd for Essex County Corrections on the matter before you. So the Department of Corrections, for a matter of history and a matter of background, intakes approximately 22,000 people in and out of the facility per year. One of the processes that's unfortunate but necessary in the facility is to ensure safety and security by searching the individuals who come into the facility for contraband, weapons, or other objects that may in fact be on an individual's person. One of the matters of topic that has been discussed throughout the state and through the country is how facilities like ours do this, especially when it comes to indictable offenses or non-indictable offenses. So the solution that the Department of Corrections came up with is to purchase body scanners. The body scanners will go into 2 locations that the correctional facility uses to intake personnel from our police departments. The idea is that the individuals will walk through the body scanner, similar to what we do at any airport or any other mass transportation location. If the body scanner shows that there is an item of suspect on the person's person, we will then have the probable cause necessary to search the individual and proceed accordingly. The Department of Corrections did in fact prepare a specification for the body scanners. The body scanners went out to bid with those specifications. They were advertised accordingly by the Department of Purchasing. Proposals were received and reviewed by the Department of Corrections. I know that we have individuals here who would like to comment on what happened after that, and that's not my position to comment on that. We now are here asking for the board to approve Donnie's body scanners, 2 of them for a total cost of $219,000 and change.
Thank you. Mr. Palavecchio?
Yeah, I think my question probably just goes to Mr. Coltry. Mr. Coltry, just reading the decision memorandum on this and expanding on what Mr. Boyd just placed on the record, after advertising for bids, the county received 2 bids, and this is being awarded to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. McInerney?
Give me 2 seconds, Mr. President. I just want to say something, please. Was there a point score on an evaluation on this, or was this just done by purchasing in terms of the specs and looking at the specs and the responses to them, or was there some sort of numeric evaluation that we?
No, there
typically
wasn't a
might see?
numeric evaluation. What happened was there were specific specifications that the Department of Corrections wanted. After the bids came in, they were then forwarded to the Department of Corrections for review for that specifications. So the department usually reviews it after it comes back, and all the proper documents for the bidding process are accepted.
You can answer this question as far as you can take, but what did you issue a response to the other bidder, OD Security, saying that they in fact had the contract?
In the initial response from the Department of Correction was that OD security was acceptable, and the memorandums went out to that. In that particular case, then we received a protest from Adani stating that the requirements that the Department of Corrections asked for were in the bid package that they submitted. We then resended it back to the Department of Corrections for a further review, and after review, they made the other recommendation that Adani did meet the specifications.
So
And-
somebody missed something in the first one that was there from Adani?
Correct. And in our memos that go out, it states nothing is approved until it comes to this board.
Thank you.
Freeholder, Vice President Richardson. I'm sorry, Freeholder Seable, excuse me.
Thank you. Is this the first time we're going to have a full-body scanning system?
Through
Have
you,
we had
Mr.
this before?
Through you, Mr. President, this is the first time.
This will be a first?
Yes.
Thank you.
So, through the administration, just want to make sure I understand the fact pattern correctly. Adani submitted, was rejected?
Through you, Mr. President, or for you, initially it was reviewed and rejected for not having all the specifications within their bid proposal.
Okay,
However, after Adani made their protest, the bid package went back to corrections for further review.
okay,
And after that, then they were awarded the contract.
okay. And we have correspondence directly from, we have correspondence directly from OD, the owners of OD, to the board today via, I'm putting this on the record, via email. We have OD, we have a lawyer representing OD Security who spoke earlier. So through you, Mr. Prolavecchio, and this question is both for you and for the administration, we're still recommending to move forward with this, with this bid?
Well, that's certainly the recommendation from the administration. We may want to take a look at it. Because I have not seen that letter from the other bidder. And I haven't had a chance to talk to anybody about this,
Okay.
other than what I've heard on the record today.
So I think we received an email probably about an hour before the meeting this evening from the other bidder. Freeholder Cooper?
Thank you, Mr. President. Did the other vendor, OD, get a letter telling them that they were selected? Do we know?
Through you, Mr. President, the initial letter went out with contract stating that, yes, they were awarded that particular bid. However, within the letter and within the contract, it states that you are not awarded until it comes to this board. At that particular time, we received a protest letter from Adani stating that his rejection was invalid because the rejection and the various spots within the specifications were met. At that particular time, I sent it back to the Department of Corrections for further review. So when it came back, they said all the documents were in the package and that they are now the lowest responsible bidder.
Vice President Richardson?
Through you, Mr. President. So they said that the information was there, so then it was reviewed by whoever had initially reviewed it and missed it in the first place?
That's to my understanding, yes, ma'am.
And so you responded to a protest letter, and, you know, the county is always conscious of lawsuits, so now there's going to be a lawsuit from the other entity who was initially awarded the contract. So in my opinion, through you, Mr. President, I don't think we move forward with this until we get a better explanation or resolution to this issue, move it to the 20th or whatever it needs to happen. But I think this needs to be addressed more appropriately, and we can't do that tonight.
Through you, Mr. President, may I?
Sure, please.
I'm going to defer to County Council at some point. I would just like to make a statement from the Department of Corrections. Yes, Mr. Freeholder, we did in fact review the product. We did in fact make a recommendation for another vendor. We did in fact receive a protest letter. Upon receiving that protest letter, we went back and reviewed the RFPs again. We did in fact then change our recommendation to the Office of Purchasing. That was on the Department of Corrections. We're going to, if it matters at all, we're going to stand by that recommendation. So I would suspect that Council is going to file a suit at some point, no matter where we stand on this, whether we approve it now, 3 weeks from now, or 4 weeks from now. But the Department of Corrections is going to stand by the recommendation. So I just wanted to put that on the record before I defer to County Council.
Mr. President, can I just jump in?
Yes.
Knowing, now hearing from all sides, including an objector, I think it might be more prudent than placing too much on the record at this point to maybe recommending adjourning it unless there's some reason this has to go through tonight, which I don't think I know of one. If we can't put it off for 2 weeks, maybe get some discussion rather than have everybody say what they did and didn't do or thought or didn't think on the record.
Sure, thank you, Mr. Well, thank you. Again, I think I would, in understanding the position of the department and the administration, but
Sure.
just also hoping that the administration can understand that we just received also correspondence that I would like our council to review as well. And I'll leave it there, so would agree with that.
And in fairness, I'd like to sit down with County Council and Mr. Coltrane, maybe just hash through this. And listen, I have no reason to doubt them, but
Yeah.
I'd be better equipped to give you some advice.
Understood. Do we have a motion
Motion to
to adjourn
To adjourn.
to adjourn
to the February 20th?
to the 20th.
Have a second?
Second.
Second by Freeholder Cooper. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Number 17 has been withdrawn by the administration. Moving to resolution number 18, which we can read into the record at a later time. Mr. Jackson.
Excuse me, Mr. President.
Sure.
This is a contract to provide for trophies, plaques, and commemorative nameplates that we have done through a number of years. For example, the plaques that are done here and some of the proclamations. This is a contract of not to exceed $50,000. The vendor comes from East Orange and has 6 employees, all of whom come from Essex County.
Thank you. Mr. Parlavecchia.
No questions.
Mr. McInerney.
No questions.
Freeholders. We have a motion.
I'll move it. I'll second.
Freeholder Seabold
I moved it.
moved it. Second by Freeholder Mercado. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Sebo.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I'm surprised we couldn't get one freeholder to at least pay one compliment to the administration for a Essex County business with all Essex County employees. So we like that. Moving to resolutions 19 and 20, which are in the Division of Housing and Community Development. We can read them into a record at a later time. Mr. Jackson, resolution number 19.
Mr. President, Mr. Serio, Director Serio is here to address this item.
Good evening, Mr. President. George Serio, Division of Housing and Community Development. The resolution presented tonight are, the first is for the Community Development Block Grant Program. These are for extensions of previously approved subrecipient agreements with various municipalities. You can see through the matrix, these municipalities were previously approved for various public facility improvements, including roadway reconstruction, various improvements to remove barriers to those adults with disabilities. The agreements expired on December 31st, and the municipalities requested extensions of those said agreements in writing to our office, and that's why we're presenting those to you today. The second is through the Emergency Solutions Grant. Also, extension requests from nonprofit agencies administering homeless prevention, rapid rehousing, street outreach activities. Those agreements also expired on December 31st. They're all nonprofit agencies. They have also requested extensions in writing to our office, and we are presenting them here once again tonight.
Thank you. Mr. Parlavecchio.
No questions.
Mr. McInerney.
No questions.
Freeholders, resolutions 19 and 20.
Mr. President,
Freeholder Palmares.
just a simple question. Are these extensions pretty regular? I mean, I can understand with the construction, the weather, and things like that play a role. What about the one with the nonprofits?
Nonprofits, myriad of reasons. For example, rapid rehousing programs tend to be difficult to administer and fit clientele into those categories. These nonprofits receive funding from different sources, and they try to align that particular client with a specific source. And not always, that particular client doesn't always fit with this particular source, so they're forced to wait until they find that client that meets all the requirements of the federal program.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Freeholder Palmares. Freeholders, additional questions or comments? Do I have a motion for resolutions number 19 and 20?
I'll move, Mr. President.
Moved by Freeholder Palmares, second by Freeholder Johnson. Roll call, Madam Clerk. 19 and 20.
Freeholder Cooper. Abstain for 19, yes for 20. Abstain for 19. Freeholder
Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano, absent. Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Sebo.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you.
I could fumble a question, but you had some insight on it.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to Resolution 21 through 26, which is Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Affairs. We can read them into the record at a later time, starting with Resolution number 21. Mr. Jackson.
Mr. President, thank you. I just wanted to add, if you have made a decision on items 35 and 36, they are also Parks and Recreation. To
move on 35, that'd be fine.
Thank you, sir.
I believe he's asking for a friend.
We enjoy having,
Ms. Hartwick and her
You gotta
team are
wait.
here.
Good evening, Kate Hartwick, Deputy Director for the Essex County Park System. Item number 21 is for a professional services for creative media and procurement for Turtleback Zoo. To provide the board a little bit of background, in 2017, the zoo embarked on its first commercial advertisement for the zoo. 2017 was a very successful year. We broke all of our attendance and revenue records in that year. In 2018, this previous year, we did not have a commercial campaign. And so for 2019, we are looking to have another commercial that would promote the zoo in a more general manner and feature the new entrants and improvements that are opening this year. In order to obtain those services, we had an RFP issued. There were 4 proposals submitted. They were reviewed by a committee of 3 people, including a representative from the Public Information Office. And Iris Communications was the highest score receiver of the 4 proposals. And they were also the lowest cost in terms of agency fees. The media buy amount was not a part of the request for proposals. That figure was determined after all of the proposals had been reviewed and somebody had been selected.
Parlavecchio.
Yeah, I'm going to fumble through this question. There was something that, Ms. Hartwick, there was a question that came up during the leadership meeting relating to the allocation of costs to the media buy, which is the bulk of it at $200,000, versus the agency cost. And I think the question was, does the vendor stand to get a percentage of that media buy amount in addition to the stated agency cost?
The answer in short is yes. The way the RFP was designed, all 4 proposers had to indicate what their percentage markup would be on the media buy.
And that doesn't affect, since the evaluation on the cost was based on the agency cost, the percentage of markup doesn't affect, or does it not affect that evaluation number?
It does not, because in this case it was an RFP, so the scoring is based on the merits of the proposal and not necessarily the cost as a
So it's
factor.
price plus the other qualitative
Exactly.
factors. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Parlavecchio. Just to follow up on that question, so the media buy allocation is a set number in the RFP?
No, the media buy was not listed in the RFP. So when bidders responded with their, I should say, when people submitted their proposals, they did not know what the size of the media buy was going to be.
Okay, so how, in our documentation, then how come they're all listed at the same number?
That dollar amount was determined after the review of the proposals, and because an amount has to be allocated to the contract in order to make the buy, that number was inserted for all 4.
Okay, was the amount on the buy the same for all of the bidders?
Yes, so the amount for the buy was determined that it would be the same.
So let me ask you a question. Say, how did the media company know how to, if we didn't set a price, how did they know how much to put in for the buy itself?
They did not submit a dollar amount for the buy. They were only submitting what their markup would be in terms of their buy.
if they
And
were to-
all of the all of the proposals ranged from 7% to 15%.
Right. And what was the markup for the winning bid,
I have the winning bid company here if you would like to hear from them.
Sure.
Barbara
You can
Boches.
squeeze the handle right under.
Barbara Boches, Iris Communication.
Ed Weiner, Hudson Media Services.
And I'm going to let Ed speak to the discount.
Can you repeat the question so that I answer the right one?
So I think there's a couple. So there's just a couple of questions on the floor that that we had discussed. One was we were understanding that the RFP did not include the amount for the media buy. So the buy encompasses television.
Television.
It's all television.
It's television.
Okay. So
Please speak into the mic.
Sure. Squeeze it up.
so the
Television alone.
television alone. So the so the RFPs came to the county without a total amount for the
There's
buy.
no amount shown.
No amount.
No
Just
amount for a budget.
no amount for a budget. So there was no TV budget in the proposal itself. The proposal is just who you are as a firm, your services, and what you could do.
Correct.
Okay.
And
So then, I'm sorry, so then how do we figure out what the, how do we figure out then the agency cost from that? Like, I'm struggling with the parameters
Oh,
of
I
the
figured out my costs.
I'm struggling, I guess, I'm gonna go back to the administration and then go back to the vendor. I'm struggling with how we formulated the RFP for this project.
So this project is not just the media buy. The agency fees include concept for the commercial, the video production of the commercial,
Okay.
the casting. So the agency fees, in theory, should cover all of those costs, overhead, the actual production costs themselves.
Design.
All of post-processing,
Okay.
editing of the videos for whatever media we're going out to. And
Okay.
then the media portion would be a separate piece. So in other words, they only had to provide information that showed the buyer was capable of making a buy on our behalf and in our best
Right.
interest.
Okay.
And not to provide us with a scope of where the buy would go. That could then be negotiated once a buyer had been selected.
Okay. So that helps me, thank you. I mean, because that helps me understand, because there's a pretty big disparity for the agency costs, in terms of just to produce, right? So we have we have a firm comes in at $120,000 and a winning bid at $26,000 roughly. Is Iris, through the administration, maybe the vendor, is the vendor doing this directly, or is there a third-party buyer that you work with for the placement?
This vendor's using a third-party buyer.
Okay. Mr. McInerney?
So, the media buy allocation was not in the RFP, correct?
Correct.
And that's what I don't get is if you didn't, and the media buy allocation is really the budget that they have to spend, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So how would you be able to gauge the amount of work that was needed to be done in this engagement if you didn't know how much money you had to spend? The amount of money that you have to spend has to be some sort of gauge as to effort. So I'm not getting that.
I can't speak on behalf of the media buyers themselves and how they would evaluate in the proposal, but if you are comfortable with it, I will allow the media buyer to explain how he made that determination.
Well, I'd like to know how all of them made that determination, because without, and there must be an explanation, because you did get...
There is an industry
All right, let me finish my question first, please. So I'm looking at the 200,000 again as the effort that has to be put in there, and I'm just missing how you can base your bid on something you didn't know about. So if there's an explanation, it would be great to hear. Thank you.
The amount of time that it takes to execute a media buy,
I'm sorry, just your name again for the record.
sure, it's Ed, last name is Weiner. The amount of time it takes to execute a media buy is more dependent upon the media itself than it is upon the size of the budget. For example, $5 million will buy me a Super Bowl spot. That takes me 10 minutes to buy. So do I charge the same thing for that as I do to buy local cable, which is piecing together three different cable owners with maybe as many as 17 different systems in the state? But more than that, this is what I do for a living. So it's the County of Essex, it's the zoo that's a mile from my house. How much are they going to spend? My estimate was between 150 and 250. And I predicated my costs on that. I don't know what other people did, but I suspect they approached it the same way. What's reasonable? What's practical? And what can you do that you won't lose your shirt? I know how much work is involved with it. I do this all the time. This is what I do for a living, and I've been doing it for 47 years.
Yeah, and again, I'm not questioning your qualifications. I'm just questioning, the process itself, that it's fair and equitable among all of the individuals. If this is the industry standard that you don't get the budget, then albeit I understand that. But if I just have a hard time having a specification go out in an offer from the county where it doesn't provide the vendor with some parameters as to what that amount that they have to spend is. And I get the 5 million versus the 200 in the effort, but again, I'm not so sure that if it was 5 million, it would be $26,000. So, again, it could be my own ignorance, but I'm just looking for a little more clarity, not just from you, but for how these other people were able to gauge that. How do you gauge that? That's my confusion. Like, why wouldn't you have put that in the bid, is my question.
To answer your question through Freeholder President, at the time of the drafting of the proposal, we had not yet determined what the budget would be for the buy.
Really
not. If I could add,
Mr. President, vendor would like to speak.
Yeah, then, sure, please.
Yeah, sure.
it's not an uncommon practice.
Just,
I'm sorry.
again.
It's not an
Name for the
uncommon
I'm sorry,
record.
just name again for the record.
Ed Weiner, Hudson Media Services. It's not an uncommon practice at all for clients not to divulge the size of the budget or even the length of the contract or a lot of the terms of it, because it's a request for proposal. It doesn't say a deal. It's to put things in a frame of reference for what do services cost, what ideas will you have, and it shows a level of sincerity without divulging before you're a partner in their business what their trade secrets are. I know, I still don't like the answer, but that's the answer.
No, it's not a question of not liking it, sir. Believe me, I'm trying my best to understand it. I am trying my best. I am not in your industry, so I understand your frustration. But at the same time, I'm looking at it as a government financial advisor who is having a hard time getting his arms around the fact that there is a budget out there. The county knows what or didn't know what it was going to be, but yet they put a bid out for that and accepted responses to that bid, and responses that have a wide variety between the lowest and the highest. So again, there must be something there on effort, because I guess Looney Advertising must have thought the budget was higher or that the work was more expanded than I would say the people at the lower level of the rating. So
Through you, Mr. President, that I can address. The specifications did call for the organizations to develop their own concepts on the commercials and the artistic creative side. And those agency fees are associated with those costs. So some of these agencies were proposing much more involved commercials with more professional actors involved and things that escalated their fees higher, as opposed to some of the other budgets. And that's why when I say that the media buy portion was only the percentage markup, was because we knew we would dictate that budget, and that was the only way to measure their involvement.
Mr. President, from my perspective, I'm going to defer to Ms. Hartwick, because I just don't seem to understand the machinations of how this works, and I have to defer there.
I'm sorry, Freeholder Cooper, I just make one question, and I know you have a question. I think I understand in terms of, we set this RFP, and the department has an idea about what it would like to do. The agencies are responding, some gave probably more in-depth, what I'm hearing you say, proposals about what the commercials might entail for production. And this, again, this is just television, right? There's no digital component to this. Would you anticipate using any of the video for any other digital?
Yes, in our proposal, we did specify the length of the video and say that we wanted to receive that content in a format that we could use it on all platforms.
All platforms. But I guess the one thing that, and I'm wanting to make sure, and I think I have a different question actually than you do, Mr. McInerney, is that when you're doing that, I understand that you might not know what the actual amount on the buy is. I understand that part. But when you're putting the first part of the bid together, knowing that number will influence what knowing that second number potentially will influence what that first number is. Does that make sense? Meaning that if you know that this is a contract that only is going to spend $200,000 on the buy, I can guarantee you're not putting in a proposal for $120,000.
If I may, Mr. President, I think we see throughout bids that we have through the county all the time, we see bids where there's great disparity among bidders that bid for one reason or another. Sometimes they bid a lot because they're hoping that, they'll get lucky and they'll get a good number and they'll make a lot of money on the deal, and if we do it, we do it. So I don't know that because there's a disparity among bids that somehow indicates that there was some subterfuge or something along those lines, which I'm not suggesting is here, but I don't think that that's a valid reason for not looking at what Iris proposed. The other thing I think that's important to note is that this process went through our purchasing department and was approved by our purchasing department as being a valid proposal process. And I'm just reaffirming with Mr. Coltre, was there anything that was done as part of this process that violates any of the contract law and or the purchasing, and he's indicated that it does not. So while I think one can debate perhaps a procedure of doing it one way or the other, the fact of the matter is it was done properly, it was done according to the law, and by my assessment, I think we came up with a very good product at a very good price, which is the ultimate benefit or the ultimate goal of this whole process. So the end result was good, and the end result was also done legally, so I don't know what more we want to look at this evening.
Okay. Freeholder Cooper?
Thank you. The media buy, is that the actual airing of the commercial on TV?
Yes.
Like the various channels?
The media buy is the actual buying of time when the commercial goes out on the air.
And so the agency cost was how much these people anticipated it was going to cost them to develop the commercial?
Correct.
How many commercials are we getting for this price?
We are getting one commercial in a 15-second and 30-second cut.
So one commercial, 15 seconds, and how many other seconds?
30 seconds.
30 seconds. The last time you did this,
how much money did we spend on this?
For the media buy,
For both columns that you have here now?
For the media buy, we spent approximately $120,000. For the commercial production, we spent approximately $17,000.
All right, so it's a little bit more in both columns compared to the last time that you did this?
Yes, and the past commercial, we only had a 30-second run.
Okay.
Freeholder Siebel.
Thank you. Kate, didn't Iris Communications work for us before?
Yes, currently Iris Communications is the graphic design provider for the Parks Department.
That's what they do for us. And they've been doing that for how long?
I don't know the exact number of years. 6 years.
And what do? They do the graphic?
They do graphics, illustration, signage, banners, postcards, printed materials.
All the wonderful material we see.
Yes.
Very good, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Freeholder Siebel.
Mr.
Mr. McInerney.
Just one last question. In the last contract that was approved, when it went out, did we have in that contract the media buy allocation?
The last time a commercial was done, it was done in a different format. The production was a separate quoted process because it was underneath the bid threshold. And the media buy was put out without a budget, as I recall.
Okay, thank you very much.
Was the creative submitted as part of the proposal itself?
I'm sorry, could you say it again?
Was the creative submitted? Was the script
A couple, some, not the full script, just
Okay.
concepts.
concepts? Okay. Do the concepts, what's the timing of when we'd like to get up on the air?
We are looking to be out for the 2019 season, so we'll
Okay.
be targeting April through the summer.
Okay. And once we approve this, who has the ultimate decision on what this content looks like and what's in it?
I do.
Okay.
Could you repeat the question? I'm sorry, Mr.
The
President.
question was, if the board were to approve this contract tonight, who has the ultimate decision on what goes into the commercial?
There's usually a meeting among the Parks Department, the County Executive, and the Public Relations Department of the County Executive Office to make that determination.
So through you, Mr. County Administrator, I'd like to make a request that there be a member of the Freeholder Board staff that's a part of that table.
I would have to defer to the County Executive, obviously, on that. I think there is some issue with mingling of administration and the legislative body, but I'm happy to present that to him for his response.
Okay. And ultimately, ultimately what we're being asked is for $226,000, or to approve a contract of $226,000, $226,350. So. And to be funded through the Recreation Beautification Fund. Okay.
I don't think so.
This is what a fiscal impact says here, Ms. McInerney. Contract costs will be covered by the South Mountain Recreation Beautification Fund.
I'm looking at the certification of funds on this, and it says...
I'm reading under fiscal impact, I'm reading the memo from the county administrator to the purchasing director.
Mr. President, I understand that. I'm
Okay.
looking specifically at a certification of funds, which specifically should let us know where the funds are coming from. It just says here various accounts. So at best, I would just want the administration to confirm what you're saying. because it's not, it doesn't say specifically that in the certification of funds, which is what really overrides anything that might be in the decision memorandum.
Is that, through you, Ms. McInerney, is that a question or a
Yes, it
statement?
is.
Okay, thank you.
Happy to,
Max Jackson.
that's fine.
Would you like to, Mr. Jackson, Ms. McInerney's question, and
Well, I
Yeah.
believe it's from the South Mountain Recreation Fund, but we will
Okay.
double check that, and
okay. Yeah, you know, I mean, my final, this is really, this will be a comment, not a question, and then I agree in terms of the recommendation of the administration. It's no reflection on Iris Communication. They've done work for the county in the past. It's, you know, for me, just more of a process question, and trying to get a deeper understanding. And also, again, would say, you know, I do have some concerns. I want them on the record that that when firms are looking at this, knowing that number potentially does influence what they may have, what they may or may have not submitted. You know, so you know, so in the future, maybe we can have a further discussion, you know, about that. So don't have any you know, any concern that we're not going to get a good quality, that you know, you don't have very good buyers working at the firm. So completely understand that, but again, just want to make sure, you know, from this side of the table that that we're doing our best to get as much competition as possible. So, Freeholder, any additional questions or comments? Ms. Parlecchio?
No.
You started it off.
I did. All I did was wind it up. I just wound it up and walked
Mr.
away.
McInerney, additional questions
No
or
other
comments?
questions.
Freeholders, do I have a mover and a second?
I'll move it.
I'll second.
Moved by Freeholder Siebold, second by Freeholder Luciano. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson, absent. Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you. Moving to resolution number 22.
I'm sorry, Mr. President,
Okay.
I once again, I have to beg the board's indulgence,
Oh.
if I may, for one
Sure.
item. Item 34.
34?
The representative from Terminal Construction just found out that he's got to leave.
Sure.
Would it be possible to
No objection.
advance that
Let's
one?
move,
I
let's move to
appreciate
resolution
it.
number 34. We'll read it into the record at a later time. This is Department of Public Works.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Mr. Jackson.
Mr. Varghese is here as well as the vendor.
Sanjeev Varghese, County Engineer. This resolution is for the award of a contract for a new parking deck in the employee parking lot on Market Street and Howard Street. It's a 350,000 square feet parking deck, 6-level parking deck, approximately 950 spaces. We had a public bid, went out for bid. We had several bids. We have 3 bids, and the lowest bidder is Terminal Construction, who is signing a PLA with us. They are a union contractor. And I have Terminal Construction representative here if you have any questions.
My name is Donald Danello. I'm the owner and president of Terminal Construction.
Thank you. Can you tell us a little bit about your company and this project?
Yes, Terminal Construction, we are located in Woodridge, New Jersey. This is our 74th year of business. We're one of the largest public work contractors in the state. We have done numerous projects in Essex County. We did the jail in Essex County, the monorail at Newark Airport. We did the last parking garage at Turtleback Zoo, the giraffe exhibit, the penguin exhibit, and we've just been awarded the parking garage here at the courthouse.
Thank you. Mr. Parlavecchio.
I don't have any questions.
Mr. Mr. McInerney.
Mr. President, this is a bid process, so it's gone through the rigors of that process, so I don't have any questions.
Freeholder Siebold.
Thank you. When will the construction start, and when will it be finished?
Start in April of this year
This April,
and be completed by the end of March of next year.
the end of March of next year?
Next year.
Thank you.
Freeholders. Questions or comments? Freeholder Palmaris.
Does this consist largely of prefabricated concrete parts that are brought in, or is it all fabricated on site?
Prefabricated. In Pennsylvania, High Concrete is the fabricator of the garage.
Thank you.
Freeholders. Freeholder Cooper.
Thank you. How many County of Essex residents currently work for you now?
Work for me?
Mm-hmm.
3.
3? Do you anticipate any new positions, new hires for this project?
Yes. All the workforce, carpenters, laborers, ironworkers, the majority all be Essex County, because they all come out of building trades here in Essex County.
Did you say earlier that you have the parking garage project, or is that an older project?
I've been awarded the one for here, and I completed the one at Turtleback Zoo.
Oh, you completed the one at Turtleback Zoo. Thank you.
Which building trades locals do you?
We're signatory to carpenters, ironworkers, laborers, and the job is done on a PLA agreement, so all the unions, it's a union job, 100%.
Union job. Correct. Thank you. Did you have another question, Freeholder Palmaris? I'm sorry.
No, sir.
Okay.
Good, thank you.
Additional questions or comments? Have a motion?
I'll move it.
What- Got time for the move. I got to go to the videotape. I have a mover by Freeholder Siebel. I have a second. Second by Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Okay. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Palmares.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson, absent. Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, thank you. Moving back to resolution number 22.
Mr. Zates.
Joshua Zates, Essex County Parks. Number 22 is a 2-month extension of our compost facility contract, which is located over at the South Mountain Reservation. It's an additional 2 months on their current contract. It's a revenue-generating contract, which would be a little over $10,000. And we do anticipate bringing the full 2-year contract to the board shortly. This would hold us over until then.
Thank you. Mr. Parlavecchio?
Has that 2-year contract already gone out for, I don't know if it's a bid or an RFP, or is it
Yeah, through you, Mr. President, yes, everything's gone out. We're in the process of
reviewing?
acquiring
and-
the paperwork and whatnot.
Okay, great, thank you.
Ms. McInerney?
No questions.
Freeholders? Do I have a mover and a second?
I'll move it.
Moved by
Second.
Freeholder Siebold, second by Freeholder Palmaris. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson, absent. Freeholder Palmares.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Resolution number 23.
Joshua Zates, Essex County Parks. Number 23 is a food contract for the animals over at the zoo. And if the board have any specific questions, Deputy Director Hartwick can address that.
Parlavecchio?
No questions.
Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Freeholders? Do I have a mover?
I'll move it.
Moved by Freeholder Siebold.
Second.
Second by Freeholder Palmaris?
Mercado.
Or Mercado. I tried to do it without looking, didn't work. Freeholder Mercado. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Palmares.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson, absent. Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
So moved.
Resolution number 24.
Joshua Zates, Essex County Parks. Number 24 is a 3-year contract to... It's a 3-year contract for the golf point of sale system, and we do have our golf director, Tim Christ, here to answer any questions the board may have.
Thank you, Mr. Parlavecchio.
Is this a new vendor or new company that we're using for the point of sale system?
Tim Chris,
think we had a
Director of Golf Course Operations. Yes.
Who was the former vendor that we had?
USC Direct.
Was it? Okay. Thank you.
Mr. McInerney.
I don't have any questions.
Freeholders. Questions or comments? Have a motion?
I'll move it.
I'll move it.
It's a popular agenda item. It's going to be tough picking who gets that first tee time. Freeholder Johnson, do you have a second?
I'll second.
Second, Freeholder Luciano. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson, absent. Freeholder Sebo.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Mr. President, we have to have our mouth halfway open by the time we finish saying freeholders.
That's right. Jeopardy. Resolution number 25.
Joshua Zates, Essex County Parks. This is a 2-year contract for produce over at the Turtleback Zoo for various animals.
Thank you. Mr. Parlavecchio.
No questions on this.
Mr. McInerney.
No questions.
Freeholders, questions or comments?
I'll move it.
Moved by Freeholder Sebo.
Second.
Second by Freeholder Mercado. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Sebo.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson, absent. Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Moving to resolution number 26.
Joshua Zates, Essex County Parks. Number 26 is a contract to paint the exterior of McLuhan's Boathouse over at the South Mountain Recreation Complex. Just to give the board a little history, the boathouse was completed all the way back in 2011, and through various wear and tear in the elements, it's in need of painting, and that's what this contract is for. It's not simply just a guy and a ladder. There's going to be a whole scaffolding structure constructed, and we do have the vendor here if you have any questions.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Sabat Civicus with Civicus Enterprises. Our company's been around since 1987, and we have performed work for Essex County. As a matter of fact, we just finished a nice project for you. And the present contract is something we do on a regular basis. Power washing the exterior of the building, and repairing trims and painting.
Okay.
I'm here to answer any other questions.
Thank you. Mr. Parlavecchio.
No questions.
Mr. McInerney.
No questions.
Freeholders. Questions or comments? Motion?
Move it.
Moved by Freeholder Mercado. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Freeholder Luciano. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Sebo.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you. Moving to resolutions 27 through 34. Well, I've already taken 34, so 27 through 33, which are the Department of Public Works. We will do 27 through 33, which we'll read into the record at a later time. And we will also take resolution number 57, which we read into the record at a later time, all in the Department of Public Works.
It's also number 60, got snuck in there. It's also public works.
57 and 60. So 27 through 33, 57 and 60, which we'll read into a record at a later time. Mr. Jackson.
Mr. Varghese.
Sanjeev Varghese, County Engineer. Resolution 27 and 28 are for maintenance of our HVAC system at two buildings. One is the Youth House, Juvenile Detention Center, that is Resolution 27, and 28 is for the Hospital Center. This is for an extension of an existing contract which we had for 3 years, which has an option to extend it for 2 further years. DCO is the vendor for both buildings, and I have somebody from DCO here if you have any questions. This is an extension of existing contract for 2 more years.
Thank you.
Ron Halley, DCO Energy.
Okay. Can you tell us a little about the contract, your company, who you are?
DCO provides building and maintenance, facility maintenance services. We have provided these services at the Essex County Correctional Facility, the Juvenile Detention Center, the Hospital Center, and we have also have a contract with Essex County Donald Payne Senior Vocational Technical School. And DCO also designed and built and operates the cogen facility at the correctional facility. Our services in general, we run the building, we run the building management system. We provide preventive maintenance and corrective maintenance services for the fire systems, the plumbing, the HVAC system, electric heaters, fans, doors, essentially everything. Anything that we're asked to look at, we paint, we fix the walls, we fix the doors, whatever's requested, we try to help out, and appreciate the opportunity to do that.
Vecchio?
No questions.
Mr. McInerney.
What is the percentage increase in these contracts over the prior contract?
I believe it's 1%.
1?
Approximately 1%.
Okay.
Over the life of the contract, I'm sorry, it's 2%. It's 1% each year.
Okay. And,
For both contracts, too.
that's correct.
Yes.
And do these contracts still have a component inside that has a designated amount to be used for parts and repairs, things like that?
There's a designated component of the contract that requires approval of county management before that can proceed.
Okay. And typically, I mean, we may not use all that, and as a result, that would reduce the amount of contract, correct?
There is a fixed cost and there is a variable cost. The variable cost is the parts, which if there's a parts fail, we'll ask them to buy, and whatever is the amount, we reimburse them. We may not use the whole thing. There may be remaining is not to exceed.
But that's where it's charged, the part?
Yes.
To that specific?
It's budgeted and it's charged.
150,000 it was, I don't know what it is in these contracts.
It's the same amount.
It's
It's the same amount.
Okay. All right, thank you. That's it.
Freeholders? Vice President Richardson?
Yeah, it's a union outfit?
Ron Halley, DCO Energy. I'm sorry, it's Local 68.
Thank you.
We are union, yes.
Thank you.
Freeholders, additional questions or comments? Do I have a motion to take resolution number 27 and 28?
Move it.
I'll second it.
Moved by Vice President Richardson, second by Freeholder Luciano. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Sebo.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you. Thank you. Moving to resolution number 29.
Sanjeev Varghese, County Engineer. Resolution number 29 is for the design and engineering services for preserving a bridge which is deemed to be historic in nature. We are currently doing Orton Road Bridge in West Cornwall, which is one of the masonry arch bridges we have. And during the process of obtaining permits for that bridge, the DEP required us to survey all the masonry arch bridges in the county, and the only bridge remaining is this bridge, which they wanted us to go back and preserve it, come up with a plan for preservation and submit it. That was the condition of the permit for the Orton Road Bridge. So we have to have somebody come and take a look at this bridge and come up with a solution to preserve it. That's the only remaining bridge with masonry arch and a deck. And we had an RFQ for bridge consultants before, and this consultant is from that RFQ list, which was pre-qualified.
Thank you. Mr. Barlavecchia.
No question on that.
Freeholder, Mr. McInerney.
No question.
Freeholders.
Mr. President.
Yes, Freeholder Pomares.
Thank you, sir. I just wanted to applaud you for the efforts on the building, the preservation of the bridge. I realize that it is a rare example, and we often may not immediately think about bridges and other structures like that to be necessarily historic, especially in a more urbanized outfit where we're seen to, wear and tear these things to the point of replacement very quickly. So I applaud you for the efforts on that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Freeholder Pomares. Freeholders, additional questions or comments? Do you have a motion?
I'll move it, Mr.
Moved by Freeholder Pomares, second by Freeholder Mercado. Roll call, Madam Clerk. Roll call.
Freeholder Sebo.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Cooper, absent. Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to resolution number 30.
Resolution number Sanjeev Varghese, County Engineer. Resolution number 30 is the resolution to authorizing applying for a grant with the DEP. There are grant funds available for bridge rehabilitation, and this is to authorize us to apply for a grant and sign agreements upon approval of a grant for two minor bridges. One is Beaufort Avenue in Livingston, and second one is Bloomfield Avenue in West Cornwall. These are two minor bridges which are structurally deficient and has to be repaired soon.
Thank you. Mr. Barlavecchia?
No questions.
Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Freeholders? Questions? Do we have a mover?
I'll move it.
Moved by Freeholder Mercado. Second by Freeholder Johnson. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper, absent. Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Sebo.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you. Moving to resolution number 31.
31 is similar to Resolution 30. It's an authorization to apply for a grant with the DEP. There are grant funds available, and we are guaranteed these grants, but they need a resolution from the Freeholder Board. And when the grant is approved, authorize us to sign the grant, the county accept. And this bridge is Dougal Place in West Cornwall, above Cane Brook.
Thank you, Mr. Pralavecchio.
No questions.
Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
This was in West Caldwell?
West Caldwell.
West Caldwell. Freeholders? Have a motion?
I'll move it.
Moved by Freeholder Luciano.
Second.
Second by Freeholder Mercado. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Cooper, absent Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Moving to resolution number 32.
Resolution 32 is similar to the other two resolutions. This is for New Dutch Lane Bridge, which is in Fairfield. And again, this bridge is structurally deficient. It has to be repaired soon, and there is grant funds available, and they guaranteed us the grant. They need the resolution authorizing to apply and to receive the funds.
Thank you, Mr. Pralavecchio.
No questions.
Mr. McInerney.
No questions.
Freeholders. Ju- Just general question, this bridge work, is this, I know we touched on this in the leadership meeting, are this part of, it's come out of the Transportation Trust Fund?
This is called local infrastructure funding. It's LIFE. It's called we have $2.3 million in there. This is
Okay.
a bridge bond allocation to us. And we have other grants for bridges on top of this.
On top of this, okay. So is this consistent with normal funding, or are we seeing an increase?
We used to get like 1 million. This is 2.3.
Okay,
Plus additional funds are coming.
great. Freeholders. Motion?
So move.
Moved by Freeholder
Second.
Mercado. Second by Freeholder Pomeroy. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper, absent Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Siebel. Yes. Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Moving to resolution number 33.
Resolution number 33 is to apply. There are several grant opportunities every year coming from NJTPA, which is a federal agency. This is for a proposal to do streetscape on South Orange Avenue from Grove to Springfield Avenue. And we had several discussions with Freeholder Johnson and City of Newark, and that area needs a lot of improvement. There's a lot of activities in that area, and we are seeking a grant opportunity for that location so that the whole area can be improved. This is just to apply for the grant.
And this is just, this grant is just for the concept
Development, yes.
phase?
It's the planning phase.
Okay.
They changed the name to LC, Local Concept Development. It used to be planning, then design and construction.
Okay.
So after this, we're going to design and construction.
So you would be back before us?
Yes.
For those parts?
Yes.
Okay. So, so just through the administration, this great opportunity for Vision Zero, complete streets, all that good stuff, major project coming down for us to really change the entire nature of that corridor.
That is the plan.
Okay. Freeholder Johnson.
Through you, Mr. President, and it's also going to help with our business improvement district. We've been working to try to improve that thoroughfare, so we appreciate any kind of assistance we can get in making it a better place to live. It is the gateway to coming downtown here anyway, so I'm very pleased.
Excited. Yeah. Thank you, Freeholder Johnson. Mr. Pralavecchio?
Yeah, just a question. Will this application cover not only design but ultimately, will the funding cover the construction as well? Or is
This
that a
is just-
separate application?
This is just the planning. Once you get into the planning, the funding automatically comes for the design and construction.
Okay, so they don't leave you high and
There's
dry?
no application separately. That is, once you are in planning, you are already in the program, and they will fund for the design and construction. But we will come before the board to receive those monies.
Thank you.
Mr. McInerney?
I have no other questions.
Freeholders, additional questions or comments? Motion?
I'll move it.
Moved by Freeholder Johnson.
Second.
Second by Freeholder Mercado. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper, absent. Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Siebel. Yes. Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you. We've already taken Resolution 34. Moving to Resolution number 57. Wrong on this. I'm sorry.
Oh, it got switched.
It got switched, so I think it's wrong. It was wrong what I was given here, so
Oh,
six.
it's now 60.
It's now 60, okay.
sorry.
Moving to Resolution number 60, which is also Department of Public Works.
Joshua Zates, Essex County Parks. Number 60 is for padding installation over at the Ivy Hill softball field. This is going to be replacement of the current padding, which is very worn due to just weather elements and whatnot. The contractor will come in, install the padding, and it's a 45-day contract, and we're hoping to have it completed in time for the softball season.
Mr. Parlavecchio?
No questions.
Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Freeholders? Freeholder Johnson?
Through you, Mr. President. Josh, isn't there a agreement between Seton Hall University and the county on that Pacific baseball field? Because they will be using it during the season?
Through you, Mr. President, that is correct, Freeholder Johnson. The county's working closely with Seton Hall, and it's one of the reasons we want to move so quickly is to start in time for their baseball, I should say softball season, because they do use that field.
So they're putting in their fair share too, right, for this?
I'm sorry?
Are they putting in their fair share for this field?
Well, since it is the county's field, the county's responsible for maintaining it, and it would fall under the county's responsibility therefore.
Okay, thank you, Freeholder. Freeholder, additional questions? Vice President Richardson?
Kind of piggyback off Freeholder Johnson. So Seton Hall, so are there fees or anything that they pay to use the field?
Through you, Mr. President, Seton Hall, I forget the exact numbers, but they, as part of their agreement, I don't want to misspeak, but I believe they gave us $1 million to play over there, and with that $1 million, we've allotted them X amount of field hours throughout the course of the agreement.
Thank you very much.
Moved by Freeholder Siebel. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Got 3 ties for second. Second, Freeholder Johnson, second. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper, absent. Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to resolutions number 35 through 42, which are temporary emergency appropriations. We can read them into the record at a later time. Mr. Jackson, 35.
Mr. Zates.
Joshua Zates, Essex County Parks. Number 35 is a grant from the Zoological Society. It's for $300,000, which would be placed into the South Mountain Recreation Enhancement Fund, which, as the board knows, we use for various improvements throughout the complex.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I think that's a good suggestion. Why don't we just move through all of these, and then we can vote on all of them at once.
Joshua Zates, Essex County Parks. Number 36 is a additional agreement from the Zoological Society. This is for $450,000, and typically those funds are used for the various food purchases for the animals.
Okay, 37.
37 is a temporary emergency appropriation from the state in the amount of $11,790,011. This is to provide for a variety of mandated welfare reform activities for TANF clients, case management, transportation initiatives, staff for the WAVE program, client uniforms, GED testing, a whole myriad of things that we use to support TANF clients. And case management, I should say, an amount of $8,278,685. Item 38 is another temporary emergency appropriation from the Attorney General's Juvenile Justice Commission for year 2019 in the amount of $1,565,806. This provides for some state and community partnerships and program services, family court program services, juvenile services for youth at risk. It's the same amount as last year. It also involves some delinquency prevention and alternatives to detention. And I believe Mr. He's done.
Okay.
I'm sorry, in number 39, also another emergency, temporary emergency appropriation. This is to provide for body armor in the amount of $62,834, and this has a 5-year useful life.
Thank you. Moving. Number 40.
40, is that right? I'm sorry. Another temporary emergency appropriation. This is for senior citizen and disabled resident transportation program in the amount of $50,000. This is a new grant which we are actually very much excited about. There are a number of counties that applied for this, and Essex and Sussex counties were awarded this grant. It's going to allow our partner in this to engage Uber and Lyft drivers in situations where our normal services aren't available. So they'll be able to provide people an opportunity to get to their doctors or other needs that they have through that service at a very, we think, economic basis. So we're excited about this new program. 41, another one, which is another temporary appropriation. This is for, that we've seen, the board has seen before, through the prosecutor's office, $250,000. This is usually involved with medical insurance fraud and arson-related fraud. Provides funding for 1 assistant prosecutor and 2 detectives. 42, another emergency appropriation, child advocacy unit from the prosecutor's office in the amount of $334,750. This provides services for child victims and their families to effectively prosecute their abusers. They use a multidisciplinary approach to medical, psychological, social, and justice concerns. This partially covers the salary and some fringe for 4 Essex County Prosecutor's Office staff, and it's the same funding amount as last year.
And 42.
That's it, I believe.
Number 42. Thank you. Mr. Parlavecchio. 35 through 42.
Just a question on 41 and 42, that fund, sounds like they fund specific positions. Is there any county dollar or any county match required for those positions?
I believe not, Mr. Parlavecchio.
Thank you.
Let me just, no.
Thank you.
Mr. McInerney?
I have no questions, Mr. President, on these.
Freeholders, questions or comments? On resolution number 40, so that that allows the county to make a direct payment to a ride share service?
Actually, Mr. President, what it would do is we'll have an agreement with our existing provider. We'll make the grant payment to them, and then they will have an arrangement with Uber or Lyft to provide those services. So we will not be engaging them ourselves directly.
Okay. That's in the event or need of an emergency situation or?
Yeah, and particularly, Mr. President, when let's say someone has to get to an appointment and our normal transportation services aren't scheduled because they don't run, all day. So
Right.
this would allow for, in case even somebody missed the bus or something, it would allow them to be able to get to a much-needed service using an alternative transportation mode. So it's a pilot that we were selected to see, and you can kind of see where Sussex, if we're a more rural county, and Essex a more urban county, and I think it's going to prove to be very effective.
Okay. Very good. Freeholders, additional questions or comments? Do we have a motion to take 35 through 42?
Move it.
Moved by Freeholder Johnson,
Second.
second by Vice President Richardson. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Sebo. Yes. Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes, on all.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Mercado.
on number 38, I want a present no vote.
Okay.
Okay, I didn't listen.
So, Madam Clerk, that's Freeholder Mercado, present not voting on number 38.
Thank you.
Moving to resolutions 44 through 59, which are all commendations. Do I have a motion? Moved by Freeholder Cooper,
Second?
second by Freeholder Mercado. Roll call, Madam Clerk. That is resolutions 44 through 59.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Siebel. Yes. Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to reports of board committees. Legislative reports. Written communication. Seeing none. Unfinished business. New business. Public comment.
Good evening again. I'm David Harris from the co-chair of Voters' Rights Committee for the Soma Action. I just wanted to mention two things. One is that I think there was some confusion during the budget hearing that the machines that Professor Appel discussed had not been certified by the state. It turns out the state's website hadn't been updated, but I've obtained copies of the certifications. So if the board would like them, I can just hand them over, if that's appropriate.
Yes.
Please.
I have 3 copies. Is that okay?
He's right behind you.
Okay. The second thing is that I would like to report that we have a scheduled meeting to meet with the election officials on March 13th at 10 o'clock, as I believe the president requested at the budget hearing. That's specifically requested by the election officials because there's an open house of all the latest technology for voting systems on March 7th in Trenton. We are going to attempt to also go to that open house if we're allowed, and then we will meet on March 13th and hopefully have a fruitful discussion with the election officials at that time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for that clarification on the certification. If there's any member of the public who would like to comment on any matter, please come to the microphone, state your name and affiliation for the record. You will have 3 minutes to speak.
Good evening again. I'm R.A. Cowboy, resident of Newark. I wanted to mention a few things that I was trying to do to get situated and helping Essex County and the kids in the schools. I have found a place that I was developing a situation for getting into the school board, the school kids on West Side High School and Speedwell in the area that I was developing a business on 361 Grove Street, and I was developing the landlord like what I was talking about, and I was waiting for an apartment up to 280 up there at the hospital up at Lions Hospital where the new development was, and I hadn't got notification of anything after I filled out an application up there, so I took 361 Grove Street, developing a place where I could work with the kids with the horses and the school program. They all was waiting for, and developing that, I guess I didn't move fast enough in getting the business set up that I was put out of that place because I hadn't gotten set up quite fast enough, but I had the monies and everything, but they wouldn't accept the money for residential because I was up there. I had 6 rooms to work with and 6 rooms to work the business, but they wouldn't accept the money that I was getting for residential to play in a commercial until I got it set up. And so I was looking, I never heard anything from the, up there at the hospital to where they put the new complex. And that's why I took that 361 Grove Street. And now that I was put out of there, I was looking maybe to get in a place until I could find a place. And I also have a suit in on that place because the man set up me inappropriately.
30 seconds.
Then put me out. So I have a suit that I just filed for getting back into that place. But I'm also looking for a place to have residence until I find a place. I'm homeless, still homeless, and I'm hoping that I would hear something. I'm going to check up to the hospital tomorrow to see if they still have my application. But all the times that applications that I filled, nobody have notified me for any place yet. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Yael Weber. I'm an Essex County resident. I'm here again to protest the ICE contract. I have heard all of the arguments against ending the contract. By far the most compelling is concern for the current detainees. The argument is that detainees are best served by being kept locked up in a local facility with access to family, friends, and legal counsel. The problem is that the argument presupposes that the alternative to detention here in Essex County would be detention in Texas or California or wherever. But the existence of this contract provides a powerful incentive to arrest and detain immigrants who would otherwise be living their lives with their families in their community. In 2017, there were substantially more ICE arrests in Newark than in all of New York City. In the same year, New Jersey had the highest percentage of any ICE region in the country of ICE arrests of people with no prior criminal convictions. Is it really reasonable to think that these arrest rates have nothing to do with the proximity of the ICE jail here in Newark? assuming that your concern really is the well-being of current detainees. I'd be interested to know what steps you are taking to explore ways to end the contract responsibly, minimizing harm to current detainees. I recognize that your ability to determine what ICE does in a given situation is limited, but surely you have more power than I. Why is it that the conversation we've had thus far has been between concerned citizens who want to end the contract and our elected freeholders who are committed to defending our complicity in the Trump administration's appalling immigration policies? Why are we not sitting down together to figure out how we can fight this? Once again, I would like to end by asking, which side are you on?
Hi, my name is Faye Letterman. I'm a resident of Montclair. The last Freeholders meeting I attended was around Christmas time. There was a festive spirit in Essex County, but not, of course, for immigrants detained at the ICE-contracted prisons in Elizabeth and Newark. Then the New Year holiday came and went. I imagine you all celebrated Happy New Year. But that was no holiday either for immigrants detained at the ICE-contracted prisons in Elizabeth and Newark. And then we all know that during the holiday season, actually starting on December 22nd, Trump began his biggest temper tantrum to date, shut down the federal government when Congress refused to support his funding for the wall. As the weeks of the shutdown dragged on and furloughed workers suffered, Trump's leadership ability and moral compass were publicly called into ever greater question. I want to ask this board of freeholders, a body of Democrats, how you feel about being tied to this president and his policies through your contract with ICE. What will the history books say about your choices? That you displayed ethical, visionary leadership in breaking an immoral contract? That you followed the lead of cities who did just that, like Austin, Sacramento County, Springfield, Oregon, and Alexandria, Virginia? Or that you offered questionable excuses and illogical reasoning to remain in the contract, profiting financially day after day off the backs of immigrants? I ask you to demonstrate the leadership that we have charged you with as the Freeholders Board and to break this contract now.
Jim Price, Montclair. About the contract, I agree with the previous two speakers. I also wanted to ask the board if the 2019 budget is going to be published publicly, and if it is, where is it? It's a question.
Yes. The budget will be published publicly. It has gone through a process where it's presented to the Freeholder Board. We held 2 days public hearing that was open to the public to attend, and that was last week. And then once the budget process is completed, it is published as part of public record.
Okay, so that will be roughly when?
For the next couple, so let me translate that. The budget hasn't been introduced yet. So when the budget is introduced, the document becomes public. And when the document, upon introduction, which could be as soon as at our next meeting, the document will be public.
February 20th.
February 20th.
Okay. I apologize for my ignorance on this, but
not at all.
the stuff that I've read in the paper made it sound like it was already submitted to the state ahead of time and...
No.
No?
So the budget has not been introduced, debated, or voted upon yet by this body.
Thank you.
Okay. If there's no one left to speak, Madam Clerk, let the record reflect that there's no one wishing to speak at this time. Freeholders, do you have any comments you would like to make? Okay, Freeholders, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned.